I'm Charles. I deal with swine mostly. There's another swine study coming up in 2020. Just a little bit of the background of NAHMS. The first study we ever did was in 1990, and it was swine. About 30 years ago, we would have been sitting upstairs, no, not upstairs, on House Street, right, Eric? Planning the state level studies that led to the first NAHMS study. We've been doing it since 1990. These studies, we feel, and have been told by industry and other people, are unique in the world. Remember that stats course you all took, and they asked, give me a population estimate, where do you get them? We got them. All of you guys are collecting them. In the case of swine, it used to be that we needed to know more about the industry. The industry needed to know more about the industry. Now, it's more of a trade document to provide transparency when we go back to the trading table after this whole tariff business is done. And now that we have a lot of worry about African swine fever, we need some sort of thing that people can hang their hats on when we're talking about spread, introduction. Population estimates are useful there too. So in 2020, and I've already lost my clicker, there we go. As I mentioned, another swine study. What we're doing, some of you guys there, is anybody here from Iowa?
Really?
Yeah. Washington County? Anywhere near that? Yeah. Right. So you know how sweet pigs smell, right?
Oh.
Yeah.
The smell of money.
Yeah, the smell of money, exactly. You can walk anywhere and smell just like them. Anyway, so what we did was we consulted with industry people about 2 years ago and said previously we'd done, our target population was 100 plus. Anybody with 100 plus got a potential interview. Industry people suggested, National Pork Producers Council suggested, we bump that up, because you all know what's been happening in the swine industry. We still got a lot of sites, but most of the animals are concentrated in a fewer sites, with exceptions. Anybody here from North Carolina? How about Michigan? Yeah. You seen some niche market growth? Yeah. We're going to get to that too. So we divided it down the roughly, not a median, but a number that was picked. 1,000 plus for a larger study, and less than 1,000 for a smaller study. I'll get into that in a second. The larger study, 1,000 or more swine in 13 states, over on the right there. I probably should have put that on a big slide. The swine industry is really hierarchical. In other words, you guys going out to goat sites, that's your operation right there. Or you're going to feedlot sites, that might be the operation. That might be the whole business right on one site. It's not like that with swine. You got an operation, and they got a bunch of sites, usually now, mostly for disease. So one doesn't switch to the other. They call it site segregation. So what we have to do is go out, have NAHMS pick us a sample, focusing, and because we wanted to extrapolate those national estimates to more pigs, we asked them to give us a higher probability of selection if you're bigger in the 1,000 plus. In summer 2020, before summer 2020, they select the sample, and then they'll be going out probably about July or August, doing the same thing that they do in probably all our studies. These are enumerators, these are retired people. They're going to ask questions about housing. They're going to ask questions about flow, who comes in, who goes out, how many, that sort of thing. What do you do with them? Basic stuff that we've been asking for probably 25 years. Then in the fall, hopefully after harvest, NAHMS will turn over those sites that participate to veterinary services. And that's where we ask the more vetting type questions. Have you had PERS on your site? NASBA? Seneca Valley? People heard of it? How about Corona? That sort of thing. And we get at a little bit more of the movement. Like, how do they go to market? Because it's a hierarchical population and it's larger population for the most part, we do a site selection questionnaire first, where we go to the operation and say, how many sites do you have? And then we randomly select within them to get no more than 9 sites. 3 breeding, if you're really big, and 6 sites with weaned pigs only. The breeding sites can have weaned pigs, but the weaned pigs only can't have breeding. Everybody get that? During the VS questionnaire, we're trying to do some biologic collections as well. What's planned isn't as in-depth as goes. I can tell you. This is what we have planned right now. Oral fluids are the it thing in the swine industry, for good or bad. We've done blood in the past. We don't think ever since 2013 when coronavirus came, and now with the current fear about ASF, we don't believe that a lot of these sites are gonna wanna let us in with the pigs, let you in with the pigs. So when you go out and you do the VS questionnaire, it's probably gonna be at Starbucks. But we're trying to set it up with oral fluids to test for PERS, that's an antibody test. Influenza is PCR, and that'll have typing, the H's and the N's. Coronavirus, they do a triplex at the lab we're thinking of, so they'll get transmissible gastroenteritis, they'll get PED, and they'll get its pal, Delta coronavirus. We would return those results, of course. We think that's an incentive. We're not sure. I'd love all your feedback on that. Go.
So most of the bigger pig producers in Iowa are already collecting oral fluids for all of these things. So I don't think Iowa necessarily is going to be a huge incentive.
Okay.
Something that they're already testing for on a regular basis.
And that's what I've been hearing. That, anybody else? That's what I've been hearing, and it, in that case, we're asking them to do us a favor. And we're trying to set it up. I mean, hanging ropes, even I can do that. Anybody on the site can do that. So we'd set it up in a kit so that they could package it up and do it themselves if they want. Fecal samples. Over the past 25 years, we've tested for Salmonella, Enterococcus, and E. coli. We're trying to continue with that. We do antimicrobial susceptibility testing on whatever isolates we get. In the case of Salmonella, that's serotypes. Enterococcus, it would be species. On the theory that Enterococcus and E. coli are trading antimicrobial resistance genes with Salmonella. In addition, on E. coli, we got planned to do STEC typing. Everybody heard of that? Shigatoxin? Now, we're probably not going to return those results. We're not doing the producer any favor by letting them know that they've got shigatoxin producing E. coli on their site. But we're hoping to return the antimicrobial susceptibility profiles as done by Sensititer to the producer, because that gives them some sort of an idea of what kind of susceptibility or resistance is going around, at least based on these fecal pathogens. Maybe useful, maybe not. I'd love input on that as well. What's different about this? The other swine studies, we did blood, which required us to go in. If anybody's bled a pig, it's a two-person job, usually, unless you're Superman and can hold a snare like this and go under it, hit that ascending aorta. Different marketing. Now, starting now, we're trying to saturate the airwaves with this study. We have to get to producers. I'm not trying to go to AASB anymore. I'm trying to go to the Minnesota Pork Producers Association, get 5 minutes in front of them. Iowa, North Carolina, Illinois, wherever I can get to. And we have help from the National Pork Board and the National Pork Producers Council, who they have state executives that go out and do their bidding and tell them stuff, tell their producers stuff that they want them to know, and this is one of the things they'll want them to know. Smaller surveys. I got my marching orders in January, 2 years ago, make them smaller, or else, kind of thing, from industry representatives. And I did. I'm sticking to it, but there's still about 15 pages. You know, the NAHMS one and the VS one. But what a producer can do is skip out. Because of that site segregation, chances are if you're going to one site, they're gonna have sows and breeding animals, and they're not gonna have wean pigs there. So there's 3 sections to both the NAHMS and the VS questionnaire. Breeding and then wean pigs, split into nursery aged and grower finisher aged pigs. So we don't have to worry about the infrastructure of the site, meaning that they have a grower finish house or a nursery house or a wean to finish setup. So chances are, most of the interviews will skip out of at least part of the questionnaire, reducing the burden. That's a large study. That's driven by industry. The smaller one is driven by VS. I don't know if anybody in this room had input into this. This is in response. We've done smaller studies before, usually with less than 100, but now we're going with less than 1,000, so we got the picture. We got, through NAHMS, we'll know the housing and some of the infrastructure that goes on in both of these strata. Operations with fewer than 1,000 swine, 38 states. This will not be an interview that you guys have to do. This is all NAHMS, and it's a questionnaire that I've been working on and with now. They'll send out the material, and along with the cheat sheet and instructions, which we're doing right now. And if they don't send the material back, that is the producers, then NAHMS will give them a call. About 5,000 sites will be sampled. This is VS driven, as I mentioned, because of that. A lot of things are happening, we believe, in this 1,000 or less, including that niche marketing. City slickers from where I'm from are moving down to North Carolina and moving to Michigan and say, let's raise pigs, because we can get top dollar for antibiotic free and pasture free and whatever else goes and gets sold at Whole Foods nowadays. We know nothing about the market. The larger industry is worried that ASF's gonna come from this side here. In some cases, somebody buying premix from China or whatever. And we need to know a little bit more about how we're moving, how they're moving. So that's mainly what we're getting at here. Like the larger questionnaire, we asked about their housing and their inputs and outputs, but we're getting at more of their marketing. We're trying to make it less invasive, so we're not asking what's in your wallet type questions, but there's still some of them in there that are asking, do you market to antimicrobial, antibiotic-free markets, to niche markets? As I mentioned, a mail out with a telephone follow-up.
There's no biologics with small enterprise study?
Not a bit. Yeah, and we don't know if we're gonna get to do oral fluids or not. Is it maybe a bad idea? I don't know. Producers seem mixed on it because they say, you know, we already know what's going on, but it might be nice to have an aggregate. We have no idea how much Seneca is actually out there. We have no idea how much coronavirus, as in PED, is out there, and Delta coronavirus, for sites that aren't doing feedback anyway.
Like I said, in our area, we have no swine practitioners. Our producers have no access to veterinary care, at least in the New England area. So if you guys ever think to expand, just keep that in mind. A lot of areas are underserved for swine producers. And basically, even our pathology labs can't handle much for diagnostics.
Where are you from?
Connecticut.
Connecticut.
New England.
Yeah, yeah. I'm
So
north
it's basically
of
FAD or bust for us for swine work. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, you got one person or two people that covers all Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine, and Mass, and Rhode Island, and that sort of thing. You send it to Tufts?
No, Tufts won't do any work for us. Usually, I don't go into Connecticut.
Why, those guys, huh? Jeez. But anyway, so we'll have some sort of an idea what's going on in all the industry, I'm hoping, with a little more focus on the niche marketing. Traditional in the large, commercial in the large, But who knows, might be some big niche marketers. I've heard in Michigan that they're getting to be about 500 heads strong, some of these niche marketers.
Well, even we have herds that do for Whole Foods too, similar 800 head hogs, and even our garbage feeders are 500 to 1,000 head hogs in our area too.
You got garbage feeders in
Oh, yeah.
Connecticut?
Yeah,
I thought that was a
Connecticut,
Jersey thing.
NAHMS. Good times.
Yeah, good time. So right now we're in the pre-test phase. So, you know, here's me on bended knee. If anybody would like to pre-test the VS questionnaire, I'd happily send it to you if you have an opportunity, if you have the time, and if you have a small producer or a large producer, or anybody you're pals with. Michigan, thank you. I will be getting with you after. That's all I got. Anybody else got anything?
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I don't know how many you want to test, but we have some people
Just
that
one.
have time.
Yeah. Do you have
I think it'd be
mostly?
really valuable. We're doing a lot of ASF planning stuff. I think that would help us too.
That's what I've been told, that we need some population estimates. You can do simulation modeling all you want, but we don't have any real.
We've got a lot of big population of these smaller backyard people that you're talking about.
We do in Florida too.
Do you? Yeah. Do you still have the walking catfish in Florida, by the way?
I've never seen it.
But are you still there? I mean, I can just picture them interacting with a pig in the bayou. But, all right, good. So Pennsylvania and Michigan, I will ask again. Thank you all.